there's nobody else like you. Just the even fact that you were born is a 1 in a 400 trillion chance. You're a miracle in and of itself. And so to somehow think that there's not somebody else out there who is going to see the miracle that you in fact are is preposterous.
There is no sense in lying about your interests, your height, your appearance, in making up any falsehoods or joking, like changing your sense of humor or saying you read certain books or watch certain shows. Because what is your ultimate goal? To be loved and accepted, but love and acceptance has to start with who you are. And clearly, if you're changing parts of yourself to be loved and accepted, you're not loving and accepting yourself. And the person who is going to love you for you is going to want to know you. It's all about us, and it's time to bow down. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Bow Down. Dennis, as always, it is so lovely to see you, and I am excited to be diving into this episode today. This was an idea you had to read through Kyle Prue's book, 109 Ways to Piss Off Men. He, I believe, began this series on TikTok, and it kind of blew up, and I've been a fan of his TikToks for a few years now, so I was excited to read the book, and I'm excited to dive in, and we'll see what we think.
Yeah, it's lovely to be here, Reese. You look gorgeous as always. So wonderful. You look radiant today. Absolutely radiant. And I love it. Yeah, I can't wait. For this. This was new to me. So a friend of mine had mentioned it to me in passing and sort of read one or two of the things from it, the one or two of the ways to upset men, and I thought it was amusing and clever, and one of them I think did sort of I could see where it would work. Another wasn't my didn't really trigger something in me, but I thought it would be really fun for you to try to trigger me, and let's see. I've been practicing my Zen.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. It'll be an interesting thing to see what actually hits and what
Yeah.
doesn't hit, and sort of as a mirror, essentially, is this exercise. And then my thought is maybe we can talk about why it hits and get your thoughts and just have fun with this. This should be a lot of fun. Like
I love it.
I can't take myself seriously, so I am an eldritch simp and a liminal guide and all of these crazy ass things. So I can't take anything too seriously. So let's have fun today. We all need a break. Life is too unfun at times to not have some fun. So
totally. Well, and I do like the idea of doing this work in a playful way. I think so often, like, conversations around like dismantling the patriarchy and embracing feminism and class consciousness and being anti-racist, it's like these are hefty things, and yes, we should handle them with heft and importance, but also play is where our connections with other human beings are forged. Play is where creativity exists, where new ideas are born. Play is where safety is established. Like, there's been a lot of psychological research into play and how it really speeds up a lot of the processes that we need as human beings to do this work. So I think it's a psychologically sound approach on one hand, but also on the other hand, like, just refreshing and good. And I want to start actually with the ending of the book because Kyle included a little blurb about why did he write this? Like, why is this important to him? What's the meaning here? Why would a man write a book about pissing off men? And I thought this would just be a good entry into it. So I'm just going to read a few excerpts from this.
Love it.
So here we go. If you've read this far, you know that men think anger is an important, direct emotion. In reality, anger is a complicated, amorphous, fluid feeling that seeks to warn us of deeper, scarier, weepier emotions. Anger never shows up first. It follows on the heels of fear, hurt, or loss. Anger is blood from a wound, and men love to talk about the blood and never the wound. And I just thought that was really powerful. And then he continues on a little bit later. Somehow, my perception of masculinity had become inextricably tied to one's ability to defend oneself and, if needed, hurt other people. Why is that? Perhaps because I come from a family of fighters. Did I form these associations on purpose? No, I just love and admire the men of my family very much. And somewhere along the way, I decided that in order to be admirable like them, I had to be capable of fighting like them. Which, again, really poignant. A little bit further on, did I write this book so that women could learn to bully men? No. Did I write this book because I hate men? No. This section also functions as my FAQ. I wrote this book because I think it's time for men to take our cultural medicine, to let our anger inform us of our hurt and finally heal from it.
Mm.
If you happen to be a man and you happen to have read this far, I'd like to leave you with a final visual metaphor. The patriarchy puts women in a box, and then it puts men in their own box on top of that one. And on some level, men think that qualifies as a win. But at the end of the day, everyone's still trapped in a box. We men are all trapped in there together, with our anger, our egos, and maybe a goose or two, which is a reference to something earlier in the book that we'll get to. But yeah, initial thoughts just kind of on the framing here.
Yeah, I love that. And honestly, I couldn't have picked a better way to frame things. So I'm a bit of me is, I'm not surprised, but it is incredible the way that was framed. I agree completely. Anger, anger is an easier emotion or energy state, I would call it, rather than emotion, because emotion is just sort of energy in motion anyway, is one way I
Right.
think of emotion. So anger is sort of a higher energy, is really the highest energetic state in some senses of all of these. Um, I don't want to say negative because there's no, again, we're polarizing things. There's good, bad. No, there is no good or bad. But anger is an energetic state that's a lot higher than, say, um, guilt is a lower energetic state than anger. So if you feel guilty, well, that's a lower energetic state. So moving up to anger, seems easier. It's easier to deal with. It's less unpleasant because it's a higher energy state. And and you can work your way down further from there. So, below guilt is probably shame, for example. And it depends. There's different schools of thought, but at the end of the day, it makes sense to me that anger anger is a way of us, of men especially, trying to process these more difficult, harder, deeper emotions, and we don't like the tension of being at this lower energy state. It's very uncomfortable to feel guilty. It is very uncomfortable. And men generally don't like discomfort.
Yeah.
At least emotional discomfort. Physical discomfort, I think, men maybe, if some people are babies, some people aren't. Everybody's different with their pain tolerance, but I think men are much more willing to tolerate physical discomfort, perhaps, than maybe emotional discomfort. Whereas,
Mm.
and again, maybe women are more readily able, or maybe just more used to it, more taught to, I don't know, to handle uncomfortable emotions and sit with discomfort. I'm presuming there. Would you agree with that? Do you feel like women, what when I say that, does that resonate, or am I just
Yeah.
generalizing?
No, I think women certainly are primed to sit with discomfort emotionally more than men are, for sure. One thing that I see again and again, especially in clips that I've been posting across social media of us chatting and things, and to read people's comments and their reactions to it, a lot that comes up is men were never given the tools to do this. And that, I think, goes back to what Kyle writes about the box on top of the box, right? That it feels like a win because I'm on top, but you're still in a box, and the patriarchy hurts everyone. And I think there's a deep feeling of frustration there from all people, because women just desperately want men to have been given these tools, because that would make women and non-binary people safer and more able to connect emotionally. But also, I feel like there are men waking up to this reality that, maybe have been dealing with anger but are starting to see the wound underneath the anger, probably wish that they had been given these tools too. But
Oh, I know if I could go back 35 years and give
Yeah,
myself these tools, like, how powerful would that be? Like, how much
right,
would it have changed my life in many ways? Again, I don't say it would have made my life better, or
right,
more meaningful or anything else because I wouldn't be where I am today. And so, again, I have the assumption that there are no mistakes in any of this. And so, but now that I'm here, now that I know, I can share these tools. So
right.
I love it. And I did love the idea of, how he said, men are willing to deal with the blood, right? They want to talk about the blood, but they don't want to talk about the wound. I'd go even a step further and say, really, the wound is imaginary anyway,
Mm,
because the thing that they're fighting against, the thing that this anger comes up against, is in fact a product of society. It's not a real wound. The guilt, the shame, whatever it is that's covering up, but it's not a real wound in some senses. It's the meaning that they took from it gave them that wound, because there's nothing that can wound them. There's nothing that can wound you. There's nothing that
mm,
can truly wound the I, the me. We are
right.
the screen, not the. But I love the idea that, yeah, we focus so much on this blood, and you made, and this anger comes up because we don't want to look at and notice and sit with the hurt and examine it and say, is this hurt really mine? Like, am I, what is the meaning I gave this accurate? Whether it's, you walk up to somebody you find attractive in a bar or in a social setting, and you're like, hey, would you like to, you know, yeah, would you like to go out? Would you like to hang out? And you get rejected. Well, I mean, you can either take that, you can then get angry, and I mean, I see it so often on like Reddit posts, like, Tinder, like these threads where it's like, someone's very polite is like, oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm not interested in that, but thank you, have a, and the person's like, wow, you were dumb, whatever, whatever, so something insulting, or again, notice what happened, there was this idea that somehow I was rejected, and now I was hurt, I felt ashamed that I was not whatever the case is, and everybody has their own process. But rather than sitting in that and saying, "Oh, well, this real? What does this say about me? This individual wasn't the right timing. Why am I taking that to say something about myself, that I'm not good enough, or no one likes me?" We jump to that,
Right.
and I think men get angry that they jump to that in some
Mm,
senses. Like, the anger isn't at the woman that, rejected them, or didn't even reject them, just politely said no thanks, like, often. And so yeah, so I'm
yeah,
curious.
it's very much like projected anger at the self, then, or anger at the self, then projected onto women, right? In that rejection scenario, that is like all of the times that this man has perhaps felt rejected and not good enough and small and little, and all of those feelings well up again, and then that creates anger projected onto this woman in this one scenario, as opposed to being like, oh, this isn't about me, this is just, she said no, okay. And I think that actually leads us really beautifully into our very first entry in the
Let's do it.
book,
Hit me.
which is, first thing to say to piss off men, no. This one's so this is what Kyle writes about it. This one's a classic, total banger. It's been putting numbers on the board since the formation of Indo-European languages. And yeah, I think that is like such a beautiful one to start with, because truly, would you tell a man no, or you disagree, like there is nothing more telling about a man's relationship with himself than how he responds to not just getting baseline things that he wants. And that sounds, I don't mean in these grand ways. I mean in really little ways, right? Like, hey, can you, I don't know, pass the salt? No. Is that maybe a little rude to say no in that situation? Sure, I can't think of a better example right now. But how many men would then go, well, why not? And flare up and get angry and all of these things, as opposed to like, okay, you're being weird, I'll get up and get the salt, right? Like, it's very much, this is an indictment on me, versus that says something about you, right?
Totally. What comes to mind as you bring that up is something that that has that has stuck with me sometimes, a sort of a no that is just ludicrous in it, and the feelings that come up from it. But a good example is like if I'm out um, with somebody sharing a meal. So having again, it could be any circumstance, could be a carnival and it's a funnel cake, or it could be a fine, but something that's like, oh, hey, I've tried this, I'd really like, hey, here, have a taste of this. It's really good, or whatever. It's really
Yeah.
unusual. It's a here, have a taste. No, I'm good. Like for some reason, like that no used to, and still, I mean, honestly, I don't know what again, it says something about me, right? Like, but I've worked on it, but for years that would put me, that would aggravate me. Like, what do you mean you don't want to take, like, and then one day I just deconstructed it a little bit and sat with it, and it's like, well, wait a second. Why why am I upset? Like, really, what am I upset about that you don't want to try my corn dog? I don't know. Let's make it, there could be a billion reasons why you don't want it. You're not hungry. You just had a mint. You're chewing gum. You don't eat pork. You don't like hot dogs. You don't like fried thing. Like, you're just not in the mood. Just no, you just don't want it. Like, that's a good, like, why do I have to justify why you don't want it? Right. So all of these things I'm just sitting with and noticing, like, what part of me gets so upset about the fact that, well, and I realize or what I came to is well, it's like, I think my opinion is so important. Like, I think it's good. I think this is something you should have, and you don't want to do it, so you're going against me. Somehow I'm feeling less than there is what I
Mm.
had noticed in this, understanding what, and the minute I was able to see that and like, wait a second, but I like what I like. It's an offering. Like, hey, I think this is cool. I think you might like it. If not, cool. Why am I? But somehow I was putting on my value, like my self-worth, that, oh, I liked this. I'm recommending it. You're saying no, you don't want to see it. So therefore you think I'm, pick your poison. I'm not good enough.
Right.
I'm a clown. And none of those are true. None of those are true. It's just, hey, I
Yeah.
wasn't in the mood for it. Didn't want to friggin', you know, if I wanted it, I'd take it. I'd say, yes,
Yeah.
that's great. I offered that. That's what comes up for that kind of a
Yeah.
no, right? Like, it's
Well,
it's a weird no because it's not a rejecting me. Like, you don't want to try the corn dog. But yet it's easy to take personally. That simple
right.
of a no.
And I do think that your like deconstructing of that is really so powerful because clearly it feels your analysis there points out how no to the corn dog feels like a no to you personally. But if you dig in, what actually feels like it's being rejected? Me. I feel like I'm being rejected in that moment for any plethora of reasons. But when you really put your finger on that analysis as to why, you can then say, well, and this person isn't rejecting me. Like, I can appreciate and understand that I have that gut response. And that's okay. Like, that feeling is okay to have. But I'm also an adult who is responsible for my own feelings and emotions and reactions. And I get to choose to say, this means nothing about me, my worth, my value as a human being. It means everything about this person's opinion on corn dogs. Like, this actually isn't a rejection of me, and I get to choose that knowledge in that moment. And that's really empowering to say,
Totally.
like, this was just a feeling that arose, and it informs me, it gives me information, but I get to choose the path that I want to walk down.
Exactly. And then and so you can even sit with that. I love, you said everything so perfectly. Like, you notice the feeling. And
Mhm.
now what do you do with that feeling? Some people would try to throw it out and reject it entirely. And that's a strategy. I don't think it's maybe the optimal one, but what I like to do is just notice it, sit with it, and depending on the mood, sometimes I might examine it further and say, okay, well, where is this coming from? And oftentimes it's probably something from my childhood, in some that is very subtle, but in some way I suggested something, hey, let's do this, to my mother, and she was like, no, that's a dumb idea. And who knows, it could, and the funny thing is it probably is something silly like that. Not everything that we do is caused by massive kidnapped in the van 80s, very special episode kind of trauma. It can be something as silly as a parent not, not having time in that moment and saying something very quickly without thinking about it and then never repairing. Never,
Yeah.
no, never going back and saying, wow, I'm sorry, that was really jerky. You really wanted to share something with me, and I'm sorry, I was not in a good place. I want you to keep sharing with me, because that's what happens next, right? Well, okay, you don't, I'm going to take my ball and go home, because I felt that feeling too. Like, well, fuck you. I'm not going to share anymore then.
Yeah.
But again, who's losing there?
Yeah.
You? I mean, maybe because I'm awesome, but still, I'm
Right.
losing, because the part of the joy is in sharing that with somebody. Like,
Yeah.
I enjoy golf. But I enjoy golf with other people. Like, it's the experience of it, less than the actual physical act of hitting a ball into a cup, you know?
Yeah.
And it's the same, all of this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I one more thing before we move on to the next one too that's coming up for me is the research that's come out of the Gottman Institute about relationships. And the Gottmans are responsible for the four horses of the apocalypse that happens within relationships, the signs of divorce. But one of their really big theories that I think is really powerful is about bids for connection, is what they call them. Um, and the Gottmans are a married couple. So when we say the Gottman Institute, it is a married couple that has conducted this research. And what a bid for connection is could be anything that's connective between you and a partner. And I think absolutely we can see here how saying like, hey, would you like to try this corn dog is a bid for connection. And perhaps a way to say no without rejecting that bid for connection, because in this research, they talk about how that is one of the deteriorating elements in relationships, as if bids for connection are just constantly shut down. It's like, no, you should be excited to be in community and shared experience with your partner. And if you're sitting with a cup of coffee outside in the morning and the husband says, oh, look, there's a really beautiful bird over there, and the wife just kind of rolls her eyes and takes another sip of her coffee, that's a failed bid for connection, right? And those really deteriorate over time. Whereas something as simple as looking up and going, oh, how pretty, and then moving on is a successful bid for connection. And I believe the statistic, I'll link it in the description down below so people can read into all the details for themselves, is 9 out of 10 bids for connection should be met. I don't think this means you have to try the corn dog, though. You don't have to violate your own desires just to connect with someone. A successful bid for connection in that instance could be, I'm really not in the mood for a corn dog, but why do you like it? Like, and that's still following up on the desire that is, I want to connect with you in this moment. I want to share something about this experience. And it is, well, maybe I don't want this specific thing that you want me to want, but I can still hold space for connection together. The other thing I'll underline is that is within relationship and within wanting to create safety in a relationship that both consenting adult parties are choosing, not with someone you don't want a relationship with. So this is not to say a random creep comes up to you at a bar and you feel like you need to say no, and you have to say, but why did you want to do? No. This is a emotional safekeeping safety within relationship with someone you are choosing to be in relationship with. But
yeah, I think that is so key to put, because I was almost going to ask, and is in terms of like, hey, we are talking about in a relationship or with somebody that is meaningful to you, somebody you care about. I mean, listen, it's good practice just in general to be a nice person, but I was gonna say, where do you draw the line? Like, so for me, it's like, hey, if somebody's like, nah, I'm good. Like, to me, that is a very dismissive way. If hey, would you like to try the corn dog? Nah, I'm good. That feels very dismissive versus what you said, which was, hey, no, I'm not in the mood. No, I don't really like corn dogs, but I love that you love them. Like, even if you don't want to
right.
go and, hey, what was your experience? Just, I love that you love them. It makes me so
Yeah.
happy to see you happy. I just want to enjoy you enjoying it, and
Right.
that's a very different way of than, no, I'm good. And you can see how one, you're not folding what you want. You're not changing your boundary is I don't want the fucking corn dog, right? In that
Yeah.
instance, right? Now, what would moving your boundaries be? Eating the corn dog just to make that other person happy. Fine, because they're gonna get all pissy if I don't eat the corn dog, and then they're gonna be sad, and so I'm just gonna eat the corn dog because it's easier. If that's what you're doing, I get it, because it's easier to keep the peace. I've been there, I've lived that. I think we all have.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, that's probably a sign that you should examine things in your relationship.
Right.
Would be my, definitely notice these things going on and ask why they are going on. Like, why does and it could be just some people are very and being neurodivergent a lot of times we might answer things. I know I do. I might say something very harshly at first, not intentionally, just because it's like my brain is elsewhere. I get a text, "Hey, do you want to do this?" No, I'm good. Boom. Okay, I'm on to the.
Yeah.
And then later on, I'm like, "Wait a second. I'm so sorry. I Now then there's the question of, well, am I just pandering? Because one of the things they say is don't apologize so much, right? Why are we always apologizing, especially for women, right? Women apologize all the time. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
And you in the opposite side, you look at all the men's videos like don't apologize. You apologize too much. If you apologize, you're weak. If like which is it? Damn it, do I apologize? Do I not apologize? Well, you know, the answer here is you should never apologize for being you.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to apologize for wanting to not have the corn dog. And you can also thank the person for caring enough to want to share it with you. I really appreciate the fact that you wanted to share this with me. And
Well, and
I
I
love,
think
you know,
even saying thank you would be a way to meet that bid for connection, right? Like, no, no thanks, but thank you. I appreciate you thinking about me. Like that at least is acknowledging this, like, you're thinking about me. You want to share this with me, but I'm not in the mood for it. But thank you. I see
right,
you. I see you. That's what it is I
exactly. It's
see
you
you.
matter. You mean something. You have
Yes.
value. Because and again, if you start from the assumption I have value when you're
Right.
then this becomes less of an issue
Totally.
because the no it's an invitation that there's no expectation of yes. The problem I think
Right.
comes in whereas men we have this expectation and maybe women too. I'm only talking for men because I don't want to ever go above my skis. And I have to be careful of that because I really don't want to. But as a man, I know I can get emotionally invested somehow in this expectation of if I ask this, I'm going to get a yes. I deserve a yes. I should have a yes. Who are you to not give me a yes? At least I used to.
Yeah.
And I mean, listen, we're all human. Like we all feel. I mean, am I walking on clouds? Hell no. I wish it'd be fun, but
I would say hearing you talk about the expectation of yes, and I think this is something I've really worked on as well, but like especially in like high school, I had an expectation of no. Like I would ask like I just wouldn't ask someone for something because I'm like, "Oh, they're not going to want to whatever whatever." Um but even if I did, it would be with this kind of like, "Do you want to do this thing?"
But
Like
could you
you
maybe
probably
kind
don't. You
of,
probably don't.
I hate to bother you, you're feel free to say no. It's perfectly fine. I
Right.
don't want to burden you, but could you help me with X, Y, and Z? Yeah, of course. I grew up like that. Like I definitely felt that way. Sometimes still
Yeah.
feel that way but something I recommend is everybody just should I think it's a great exercise for everyone everywhere, including myself, is to put yourself in situations where people say no. Learn to hear no. Go out and ask outrageous questions to people in a polite, like I'm not talking gross things, but you know,
Right.
but I mean, be genuine, be honest, but learn to hear no because it's not nearly as scary as we think it is. Like,
Yeah.
especially if you're neurodivergent, hearing no is like the scariest thing in the world. Like
Mm,
to the point where you just won't ask the question unless you're absolutely sure of the answer.
right.
uh, and and that's fine, and that's absolutely safe, and I get it. Like but I guess what I would postulate or posit to people is you're scared of your own shadow in some ways here,
Yeah.
and you can do that, but you're basically living in scare of the boogeyman that doesn't really exist because you can't be rejected because there's nothing to reject. You're just a mirror. And any rejection, as you perceive it, or them saying no, it's just reflecting that this is not for them at that moment. Whatever. It doesn't say you're not good. It says you're not the right fit at that moment. And, to go back to your bird watching example, it might be that my partner is, is not a morning person, and they're barely awake and can barely function. And when you're like, hey, look at the beautiful, blue jay, that person is just like, I can't even keep my eye. It's not that
Yeah.
I love that you love that, but dude, it's my morning. Like,
Right. Well,
so you
and
don't know, but you make this assumption. Oh, well, my partner, no, stop making those. Assume your partner loves you and cares for you.
yes.
And if you come from that perspective, see what happens. And then when something
Yeah.
isn't, ask yourself, talk about it. Like, don't let these hurts fester. Don't,
Yes.
it's okay. And if your partner doesn't want to hear it and gaslights you or says, oh, you're just being sensitive, fucking run. I don't
Yeah.
know what else to say, because that is never true. No. No, again, maybe you are focusing in on something that isn't in fact true, and you should be open to hear that. But no one can tell you that this wasn't hurtful to you because you felt it. No
Right.
one can tell you that something shouldn't be anything to you. It is what it is to you. Now, it doesn't have to be. What I would tell you, and what I think is empowering, is you have the choice of how
Yeah.
you feel. You may not be able to stop that initial feeling. You may feel that initial bit of rejection because that comes from your amygdala. It hits you before any cognitive thought. That's not on you. That's your nervous system. That's your lizard brain in some sense. And then I think with work, you can even deprogram that to the point where it is
Mhm.
non-reactive. But that takes a lot of that's not easy. And obviously the greater the intensity, the more likely you are to
Right.
but you can stop there and allow your forebrain, your cerebral cortex, your thinking brain, yourself, if you will, to catch up, because yourself is always there.
Yes.
And yourself is not your thinking brain anyway, but it's
Right.
all of these things are tools, are things you can do to explore those feelings,
Yeah.
and but a healthy, well-lived life is one in which these things don't fester. And
Yes.
and I want to be the type of person that my partner can say no to without worrying that I'm going to explode, or I'm going to get all
Yeah.
hurt, or I'm going to be all bitter. And because what does that say about me? I want that puts people on eggshells around me. And so if you do that, if you're a man and you get upset when somebody says no to you, or your partner, your significant other, or on date, whatever, says no, explore why. Because
Yeah.
do you want to be the person where your partner can't be who they are? Assuming you like who they are. And if you don't like
Right.
who they are, then why are you with them?
Right.
And examine that.
Well, and to dig into like then why are you with them, but also just this yeah, like another thing that I want to gift to people is a Brene Brown tool, which is the story I'm telling myself is. And that has been so transformative for me in having these conversations with people when hurt does arise, because it takes the assumption of you're trying to hurt me out of it, right? If my dad accidentally says something that rubs me the wrong way, hits a certain like trigger button, whatever, it is so much easier for me to say, hey, the story that I'm telling myself right now is that you're not proud of me. And I know that that's not true. I know that the story I'm telling myself isn't true, but that is what I'm telling myself right now because of what you just said. Um, and that allows a conversation of like, oh my gosh, of course I didn't mean that. And it's like, yes, I know that you didn't mean that, but I want to acknowledge what's coming up for me that is the story that I'm telling myself. And maybe that's not even the best example, because sometimes this can be really useful in pointing out someone being really hurtful for you too. Like, it's been really great for me in the past with people who are a little bit emotionally manipulative, that if they do start gaslighting or something, it can be really good to say, so the story I'm telling myself right now is that you think I'm crazy. Is that true? And then they're kind of forced to reckon with, no, 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 of course not. I would never want to say that. I just think your reaction here is unwarranted. And so you can really get into like some of those processes. So that's just a nice
Agreed, yeah.
phrase that I think
I
is
love that,
helpful for
yeah.
this work.
Totally. And you're right. I think that is something to point out too. Some people are trying to manipulate you. So just because I'm not paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get me either.
Yeah.
Is sort of is what comes to mind. But I love the way you can disarm that, or you can go even further if if you suspect and you have reasonable evidence, whatever, you to say, wow, I think this person is trying to neg me, as the old pickup artist language used to be, or somebody's just being hurtful, they're trying to score points. You know, I like to just ask point blank, wow, really, were you just trying to be hurtful in that? Or, and just see what they say. Because when confronted with, like, most people will just either, get bigger and like go back, and try to escalate, right? Oh, you said something a little bit nasty to me. You send one of mine to the hospital, I send two of yours to the morgue, kind of escalation. Or, you just put it back on them with a simple, calm, wow, that was a lot. Were you trying to hurt me there? Or, and just see
Yeah.
what they say. Because oftentimes when you put it back so starkly, now they're forced to, and if anyone's there, especially if you're in a group or something, then it really puts the pressure on them because everyone else is like, ooh,
Yeah.
it can really change things. So love it.
Yeah.
This is, I feel like we've gone far afield from this, but
I know,
it's all great
but
stuff. So,
it's good.
all
Yeah.
right, let's keep going. What do we got next?
Okay, we'll do a lighter one, and then maybe dive into one that'll have a little bit more discussion too. So this is number 38. Um, well, he is the referee. He's qualified to make that call. And I love this one. This Kyle, the author, says to describe it, is this kicking a man while he's down? No, it's arguably curb stomping a man while he's down, which is worse or better, depends on who's doing the kicking, which I love. And the thing that I really love about this one is, I mean, I'm in Texas. Football is such, like, from the time I was little, just about every man in my life is a sports person, and I think my dad is actually the only man in my life that I have not seen yell at a TV over a sports game, because my dad's not really a huge, like, he enjoys sports, but he's not that level of fan.
I yell at the
But
TV. I gotta be honest. Like,
well, and I'm
not
like,
as much as I used to. Like, I mean, I used to be having full blown, come to Jesus conversations with the
sure,
television. Now I'm much more calm, but I'd be lying if
but
I
hey,
said, never. I never have yelled at the TV or something.
right.
So.
I yell at the TV when Love Island's on and someone recouples at Casa Amor, right? It's like I think the high emotions in and of themselves isn't the issue. It's the internalization of it that I think gets to be really shocking. And the true, like, self-internalized anger and, like, hurt that I have seen in some men over athletics, that I'm like, I'm actually a little scared right now by the display that I'm seeing. That to me is unhealthy. Like, that's an unhealthy level of attachment to something that is absolutely out of your control. There's a reason why we love sports. It's because it's community. It gives us something to rally around together and connect over. And deeply, that's, human beings are wired for community. When you see a Cowboys sticker on the back of someone's car, or a Cowboys jersey at the grocery store, instantly it's, oh, they're part of my tribe.
It's an
They're
identity
in group.
marker. It's an identity
Exactly.
marker.
They get this. They get me. And it makes you feel safe. It makes you feel connected. Like, no wonder there's so many feelings about this. But again, the referee is a way for men to show emotions. It's this emotional, it's like we're allowed to have emotions because it's not about us, because it's sports and it's manly and it's masculine, because it's big masculine men tackling each other in this, like, Greek Olympics way, right? This, like, Colosseum tackling the tiger. So we're allowed to get angry in this because it's so masculine. But if you zoom out, if I were to actually say this to some of my guy friends when they're down, I would be a little afraid for my physical safety. And I say that partially tongue-in-cheek, but also partially true. Like, the level of over-personalization and identification with something that is separate from yourself is wild. And I would urge men to think about, why does it feel like a personal indictment when something happens to a team? Like, and what's the boundary between, yeah, we can have an in-group and we can support a team. And, I love my alma mater and I love the Mavericks. I grew up going to Mavs games. Like, they're my team, MFFL. They lose, my personhood isn't on the line. That's not going to ruin my night. And the amount of men that I've seen have days and days of their lives ruined because of sports, I'm like, is your day worth so little to you? Like, have a fun night. You deserve to have a fun night. Yeah, I don't know, but I think also I'm not just the sportiest sports fan, so maybe there's a piece of this that I don't understand too, beyond what is the community piece that I highlighted, that with the identification, in my mind, it does feel a little unhealthy, but I don't know. What do you think about this, Dennis? And like you said, you
Yeah,
used to have
it's
more,
interesting for me because it doesn't resonate strongly for me today, in the sense of, like, but I get it, and I can drum up my feelings from, my 20s, which is where, I'd say teens and 20s honestly is where I was most into sports, and really there's only one team that ever actually has gotten me emotional, at least in my adult life, and I'm a Miami Dolphins fan, uh, and uh, clearly a masochist, alongside that, um, but especially after the game, but I think back to 20, 30 years ago, and truly when there was a decided difference in my mood, my functionality, like my evening on Sundays especially, uh if the Dolphins won or they didn't win, I would what I did was completely different, how I felt was completely different, you know eh, things that occurred, you know, I mean, I would, I could, if the Dolphins won at the time and something bad happened, I might be upset, but I'd be like, oh, well, the Dolphins won. So it's all okay. I literally, I would say something, I mean, I wouldn't maybe process that in, oh yeah, but that's really what would happen. My mind would go to that. Oh, well, at least the Dolphins won. That's not too bad. Yeah, life's falling apart, but at least the Dolphins won, and vice
right?
versa. Vice versa. If the Dolphins lost, like, I would stop watching football, I would be in a pissy mood, and listen, I don't even think I was the most, I mean, I would probably say on a scale of 1 to 10 of sports fanatics and how they respond, I mean, I doubt I was a 5 in terms of some guys. Like, I am
Yeah,
definitely, like, you know, on the marginal end of things even back then. Maybe I was a 6, but certainly no more than that, because at the end of the day, like, it went away pretty quick. Like, by the next day, some people, are upset all week and all these other things.
yeah.
But and to go back to really what I think you know, reflecting on what I see as the issue, or why there is so much anger at that, or
Mhm.
why that could cause anger. I think it does go back, first of all, to what you talked about with the Gottmans, and this idea of being connected, sort of sharing that, like, so the way I process it is number one, I know this, on some level. I know that this is irrational, right? I know, even back then, there's a part of me, self, because self is like, this is dumb. Like, at the end of the day, does it really matter if they win or they don't win? No, it has no impact on anything. I'm not making any money by this. Like, it doesn't. I mean, maybe if I was gambling, and that, at least I could, because I've also lost money gambling, and I can tell you this: I remember my losses very
Yeah.
well, like, especially when they were big losses, especially when the referee was a part of the loss, and I could cite chapter and verse. Actually, it's amazing what burns into your brain. But the idea, I think, is again, it goes along those same lines. I'm mad as hell at something. I want somebody to match me emotionally. I
Mm.
know it's stupid, but by saying something like that, like, oh, well, the referee, really, they know what they're doing, right? Well, that causes red on so many levels. Number one is well, I can see this with my own eye. They were wrong. And sometimes, literally like his knee wasn't down or the ball was coming out or whatever. That was clearly not a strike. Look at the replay. The ref is an idiot. That, like, so first of all, it seems fundamentally untrue, like that you would say that, like, why is this guy more qualified than anybody else so that's number one. But number two is it's more like it's a splash of cold water in sort of my emotional face. Like my energy is all flowing in this way. And here now you say this and it's like splashing cold water on my energy. And it creates, when hot and warm air, cold fronts meet, right? That's where you get thunderstorms and stuff. I would say energetically, it's the same thing here.
Mm.
That my energy at this point, as a sports lover, is all headed in this direction. And I've gotten all this, and then all of a sudden now a cold front comes in and boom, of course you're going to get thunderstorms. Like
Yeah.
the only way you're not going to get thunderstorms is if the energy of me, I'm just sort of playful about it. Or, it's just like, maybe maybe it's performative in some senses. Like, I'm with other guys. We have to do that. And I don't really feel, but that's what I would say. And so, I mean, I kind of would argue on that one that, yeah, it really is just kind of being a dick to say that in some ways. Like
Yeah.
it's not a, and it's not untrue. I mean, the fact is, yeah, the referees spend a lot of time studying and, they know the rules backwards and forwards for the most part, and they're trying their best. And they're generally attorneys, at least in the NFL. I mean, whatever. The truth, the comment isn't wrong. Like they're doing their best. It still doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I think the problem is the energetic misalignment. And again,
Yeah.
it's missing that opportunity for connection. It's like, wow, this individual is not going to support me when I need them. Like they're not,
Mm.
They're not along the same lines as I am. I think
Yeah.
is what I noticed there. And I think that's why it creates that sort of thunderstorm. On the same time, I also agree with you as somebody who now is not at all attached to sports. It is definitely much more pleasant, just as a general
Yeah.
rule, like to not have my life, change based on whether a team wins or loses. Something that I literally can't control is manipulating my emotions and how I feel about
Right.
life. Yeah, when you present it that way, who wants that? That's stupid. Uh,
Yeah. But
and
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
there's an excitement of winning though. When your
Yes.
team wins, and that's what it is, right? That's gambling in a nutshell. Like, do you hate losing more than you love winning? That's what creates a compulsive gambler. I dislike losing more than I like winning, which is why I will never ever be a compulsive gambler. Because the high of winning does not exceed in utils or excitement or whatever generic valuation you want. For me personally, the thrill of winning does not overshadow or overtake the agony of defeat, if you will.
Mm.
But I think
Sure.
for compulsive gamblers, the opposite is true. They
Yeah.
don't,
That's interesting.
and so I would argue that somebody, if you say that to somebody, I could argue that somebody who is that deep into their team is in a sense an addict in that way. They are chasing the same high in a way that a gambler does, because here's an event that they literally have no control over. They're merely watching on a screen, yet fans will do everything in their power to convince themselves that they have some outcome. Oh, I'm going to wear my hat backwards. Oh, I only eat buffalo wings on game day and they have to be from them. And I order them at 1:43 p.m. every single time. Like somehow they think they're doing something, right? Though we know you're not. The same reason people blow on dice and, go, do luck, genuflect before they press the button. I don't, So yeah, that's
Yeah.
an interesting one.
It is, because I do think, I mean, now I'm thinking about like the wings at 143, and that is a piece of it that I'm like, hey, I think you're casting a spell. I believe, like, if that's what's important to you with your
Yeah,
magic,
fair
I'm
point.
so on it with like, hey, do what you got to do to cast your spell. If you believe that it's working, the intentionality behind it,
The
like,
belief is what
so
matters. Absolutely.
right,
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
I would then say, like, how many people underlining, like, I'm not going to wash my jersey all season, do they secretly, like, some small recess in their brain, not actually believe that that's doing anything, but they're still going to do it, So it's like, then you get
Yeah.
into the
Well, and it's always,
technicalities of,
yeah, it's like when I
yeah,
was a kid, I tried to pray for the Miami Dolphins to win, and it never really worked, as far as I could tell. I
yeah,
mean, so Yeah, because and then the question is, well, what about the other? The other team has people praying for them
Right.
too. Like, who wins?
Yeah, who does
So
God pick when they're both being prayed
exactly,
for?
and well, clearly God doesn't pick the Miami Dolphins. So
Right. Yeah.
it's one of the reasons why I'm no longer a practicing Christian. I think is because all the disappointment in the '80s for me with the
That's
Dolphins and
really
my
funny.
prayers.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
uh,
Another thing that I probably should have said at the beginning is actually the very first sentence that Kyle Prue writes in the book is pissing someone off is not, strictly speaking, a good or nice thing to do. And I was just reading that and I'm like, yeah, I think that that really does speak to what you were saying, that it's like, okay, in this exercise of looking at what we're doing here, you really need to say these things and speak these words when you know what you're doing, right? Like, and one, when you feel safe and comfortable to do so. And also, is your goal to fight fire with fire? And what does fire look like versus a joking um, response? And so I think looking at that, it's like, it's clear that um, this isn't a nice thing to do, right? And so is our ultimate goal here to welcome people in and create a safe space? Then maybe don't say that when someone's having big feelings. And the other thing I want to highlight too is also, like, I don't think big feelings about sports in and of themselves is dumb or stupid. I think because sports is not a thing for me, sometimes when I talk about it, I can come across as being like, well, and why would you have big emotions about this? I want to be clear that even though that's not important to me, I think the piece of it that I take the most issue with is having serious consequences for your actual state as a person in something external to the self. But so many people have that for so many things outside of sports, right? Like, um, I don't know.
politics,
I'm thinking,
I know people who,
yes.
when Biden won in 2020, like, I know people who like locked themselves in their room for 3 days because
Oh my
they didn't leave
goodness.
the house because they were so you know angry and emotional about it. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's an
Well, and
example of something.
to underline, I do think that like there's more consequences from political outcomes for day-to-day life than sport outcomes. So
True,
like
true.
but I agree with your analogy, right? That it's like, yes, there are these other things that people can have big reactions to as well. So just think about what you're doing when you make light of someone's feelings and emotions, and are you inviting them in or not? And I think these are good tools to have like in your back pocket to kind of mirror someone back to themselves if it is a safe and productive way to do so. But also, there are certain times where it's like, what's your goal in this situation? If it's not like friends or family that you do want to forge connection with, and it is truly like, get this man away from me, anger probably isn't the best thing you want to generate in a man ever, actually. But, you know, you don't have to think about this connective piece that we're talking about. I think that that is very much in relationship with people that you want to create safety and security and support within. Um, and yeah, I would just urge any men listening to this that do have big, bold reactions to sports to just ask why. And if you're
Hmm.
like, it's just because it brings me joy and I love leaning into this and I love being a part of it and it doesn't cause any harm to you or the people you love or to your life, great. Keep doing it. It's kind of like going to see a play and crying, right? Like having big emotions in reaction to something. That's cathartic in some sense. And if this is how you are exercising that catharsis, like cool, do what you got to do. Um but just analyze, like,
Well,
is
be
this actually
conscious.
cathartic
Be
or is it
conscious. Do it
yes.
conscious intentionally. I agree. And by the way, you're absolutely right. Like, so this comment is in the book for a reason, and I think there are a lot of couples where, and I suspect it's mostly the male who's the sports fan, although again, I'm sure there's there's always an exception that'll prove the rule where the woman loves sports and the guy doesn't. And
Yeah.
I mean, the same could be true about Love Island, right? I mean, like you just said, like you might yell at the TV for Love. I'm sure there are, and I'm sure there are men who do it. So I not want to
Yeah.
generalize, but
Right.
in terms of the fact is this is a trope or here because there are people whose lives are significantly worse after a loss in a sporting event. Like literally, like because I've been there and I know I was the perpetrator of it. So man, don't do that shit. Like honestly, it's okay to be upset that your team lost, but damn, don't take it out on people. Like don't let it steal your joy because no matter what, you still have a lot of great things going on, whether or
Yeah.
not your team won or not. There's always good
Exactly.
things. There's always a lot to be grateful for. So just
Yes.
notice, like, is that who you want
Yeah.
to be? Like you want to be the guy who, you know, is a royal, baby and a crybaby when their team loses and is insufferable. No, why would you
Right.
want to be? That's unpleasant and unfun.
Yeah. Totally. Exactly. And I'm like, with yelling at the TV with reality shows, it's like, it's fun and silly to get angry and throw the popcorn and whatever, and then we'll eat dinner and everyone's fine. But if you're throwing popcorn and baseball hats and screaming and punching holes in walls and then everyone around you is scared, that's different. So, yeah, the awareness. This is another goofy one that I just
Cool. I love the
love.
goofy ones.
Um so this is number 70. I'm 5'10". Say this to a man when you are actually 6'1". This one is, of course, only useful to male readership and tall queens, but I've been doing this for years and it never fails to break a feeble spirit. And I had never thought about this. And he says, I've even had my license changed and designed a tape measure with 3 missing inches to, like, trick men into thinking that they're shorter than they actually are. And again, this is like, it is just one of those things that, like, is it just kind of pulling the rug out from under someone? Yes. But again, I would urge someone to think about, why is the marker, the identifier of your height so important to you? What does that actually say about you as a person?
And
And
what do you
if
believe? What do you believe?
right.
If that triggers you so much, what like and that's interesting. I mean, and again, I think I come at it from the perspective of um like I'm kind of confused why that would upset somebody. Like I know how tall I am. Like I literally know my height. So I a tape measure that says I'm taller, like I know how tall I am. Like it's a metric. So like so I guess but then again, I am 6'1". So maybe I
Yeah.
don't have the same hangups that our
Right.
shorter kings have. Who are not blessed with you know with height in the same way. To me, I think it shows though the insecurity there, right? Because I mean, you're
Yes.
touching on something that is a pain point. You're pressing on an open sore in some senses,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and um, again, I don't know that it's bad or good. In an ideal world, that that wouldn't be something that was painful. And so I think as for somebody who would take umbrage at that, would have would feel shorter somehow, and get aggravated. Again, the question is why. Like, what is it? What do you believe is true? So, almost explore it like an investigator, like Sherlock Holmes. Okay, so don't judge the fact that you feel negative about
Yeah.
this. That this somebody said this, I feel badly. Don't judge that. Accept it. Say I feel badly about this. Now, can I go a step deeper? So so I or there's a part of me again to get away from this idea of I, because I is so much bigger than that, but there's a part of me that this impacts, is triggered by this, touches me, it feels something here.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I sit with that without trying to change the way this part of me feels, without trying to do anything, just be with that part of me that feels less than, that
Yeah.
this somehow made me feel poorly. Why? What do I believe about myself? Well, I mean, I think the obvious belief here is like I'm not good enough. I'm short. Women aren't going to like me, especially if it's coming from a woman. Like my value is there's a belief that taller men have it easier. women only want taller men. The taller a man is, the more powerful a man is. The taller a man is, the more attractive a man is. All of these thoughts are going through this person's mind, possibly, and maybe more. Maybe there could be 100 different things. But rather than questioning those things, like, are these things in fact true? Like,
Right.
does this you're just, by reacting, all you're doing is showing what you actually believe, and you believe these
Yes.
things. That's why you're upset. You believe your height dictates, and the fact is, are there women who height is a deal breaker? Yeah. Like, isn't it good to know that up front? And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that being a deal breaker. Like, if you want a tall king, cool. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not here to judge it. Uh, you may be limiting yourself to some degree, but that's okay. Like, you're allowed to do that, and it's not wrong to do that. There are practically an infinite number of people of all shapes, stripes, religions, creeds, desires. Like, you can find somebody who's meant for you within your filter, whatever that
Yeah.
filter is. So you don't have to feel bad about having that filter. Much better to have that filter, be upfront about it, than be like, well, I really want somebody who's 6'2", but I want somebody. My desire for somebody is more than my desire for somebody to be 6'2". So
Yeah.
I'm gonna date this 5'9" guy, but I'm it's always gonna be in the back of my mind that he's not 6'2". Like, why are you doing that to him?
Yeah.
Like, if that's where you really are as a in what you want as a partner, cool. Like, I don't judge you
But
for
own
that.
it.
Own it. Like,
Yeah.
because you're gonna make everybody happier.
Well, and that's one thing that a podcast that is one of my comedy podcasts that I love. I probably have mentioned it before. It's called Perfect Person, and it's from Miles Bonsignore. And one thing that he says all the time is the person that's the love of your life, that is your soulmate, like whatever paradigm you believe in, that is going to be with you, is probably going to like you, who you are, as you are. There is no sense in lying about your interests, your height, your appearance, in making up any falsehoods or joking, like changing your sense of humor or saying you read certain books or watch certain shows, because what is your ultimate goal? To be loved and accepted, but love and acceptance has to start with who you are. And clearly, if you're changing parts of yourself to be loved and accepted, you're not loving and accepting yourself. And the person who is going to love you for you is going to want to know you. So actually, by doing all of these different things, you are extending the time that it takes to figure out if this is a match or not. Because if there is someone out there who wants someone who is 6 foot and you are 5'7", you are not a match. That does not mean you're not good enough. That does not mean you're being 5'7" is some crime. It doesn't mean wanting someone 6 foot is some crime. But your desires are not in alignment. Same thing with like jobs, right? If your minimum for pay is $100,000 a year, and there is a job that has everything you want, that checks all these boxes, it's fulfilling and it's in the right city and all of these things, but it's $50K, then it's not a job match. Then it's not the right match, and that's okay. But don't kid yourself about what those non-negotiables are. And if something is negotiable, then that's okay. Like, know that it's negotiable. But same thing in a relationship. And it's no harm, no foul against someone for having certain desires or non-negotiables. But don't kid yourself or other people, because not only is that unfair to other people, but it's also unfair to you. It's counter to your end goal, actually. If I met someone and they were like, D&D is nerdy and stupid, and I'm like, yeah, who would do that? That's a weird, dumb thing to do. Yeah, I agree. Okay, maybe it makes this date go better. I don't want to be with that guy anyways because I love D&D. It's like, what are we doing here? It's actually just not a match, and you are not going to align with every single person. but it has to be an inside job first. And I love what you said about like when is someone like were to say something about your height or make you feel insecure about your height, all of the things that start going through your head could be, this makes me feel not good enough. It makes me feel weak. It makes me feel powerless. It makes me feel insecure. Look at those things. And when you have the internal strength and the internal sense of worth that is, but I am powerful and I am strong and I love myself and I'm a great person, that becomes the prevailing narrative over insecurity. Just like you were talking about with your amygdala versus kick in that prefrontal cortex, right? And if these things really do piss you off, ask yourself why. Like, it probably is a wound, right?
Almost always. Yeah. I mean, I guess there are some things as righteous anger,
Yeah,
in terms of,
totally.
so I don't want to pretend that everything
Absolutely. Agree.
is trauma. I mean, there's certain things that, are just right and wrong and, in my opinion, and not everybody's going to agree with that. But for me, those are true deal breakers, and that's okay, but it's good to have those up front. And I think, I agree with everything you've said. And I think it's so, again, we view the problem, I think we all have, or at least men, maybe probably true for everybody, is we actually, we treat the wrong thing as scarce. So in our
Mm,
mind, we believe that people out there for us are sparse, and we are, we're too much, right? There's plenty of us, but there's not enough people out there, and so I have to search and I have to look and I have to perform in order to, and there's all these websites, I mean, goes back 20, 30 years. Here's how you trick people into liking you. Here's how, the pickup artist stuff is what I'm thinking of back 20, 30 years ago, like,
or even how to win friends and influence
right, how to
people.
win friends and influence. But again, the people always try to do things the wrong way. It's like, okay, I'll do this because I want to try to trick people. Like, I want to get dates, so I'm going to learn how to do this. I'm going to, and it's kind of putting it's putting the cart before the horse, because you do these things not to get people to like you. You do these things because you genuinely want to know about people. You genuinely want to become somebody who is interesting. You want,
Yeah.
um and so, but what we do is so we make these people, we put other people out there as sparse, the people who could love me, who could like, who are sparse, and there's just too much of me, when I would argue the opposite is true, right? I'm the scarce resource. Like,
Mm-hmm.
people should be like, I'm awesome. I think I'm awesome. And at the same time, I know I'm flawed. Like, I'm not perfect. Like, I've got my things, but I guarantee you there's somebody who the things I think are flaws, somebody else thinks are virtues,
Yeah.
and things that, and I think the trick is to understand that there's one of you. There's only so much. There's nobody else like you. Just the even fact that you were born is a 1 in a 400 trillion chance, just based on sperm counts and odds and all of this
Yeah.
stuff. Like, you're a miracle in and of itself. And I know that sucks when maybe today is the worst day of your life. You've lost a
Yeah.
parent, or you've lost a child, or you've had unimaginable tragedy. But the fact is you are alive. And you have beaten the odds just by being here, by taking form and becoming incarnated. And so to somehow think that there's not somebody else out there who is going to see the miracle that you in fact are is preposterous. I mean, when you really think about how many people are out there and really who you are, that the idea that there's one person who would like me, no. Like, there's hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, even think about it, even if 0.01% of people are a match for me,
That's
that's still
still
how many
thousands and
millions of
thousands and
people?
thousands of people. Yeah.
I mean,
If not millions, I don't
that's
know math.
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, 8 billion people on the earth, give or take. I mean, okay, narrow that down, because not everybody's, not everybody's accessible, but still
Right.
a billion people, and cut that down even, there's still hundreds of thousands of people who would be perfect in terms of, how they feel. So realize you cannot possibly be available for all of the people who would, if they knew who you were, would want you to be available for them. You do not have the energy or strength. So treat yourself as scarce. That's all. Like, stop
Yeah.
treating other people as scarce. Treat you as the prize. And all of a sudden, then your height is not a bug, it's a feature.
Yes.
It's the feature of Dennis. It's the feature of Reese. It's the feature of whoever.
Well, and same thing with your quirks and sensitivities, and I'm never gonna get someone who understands why I really hate this one thing, and everyone I've been with can't seem to grasp that, like, I really just need this one thing. There will be someone. There is someone for everyone. And even if that someone is you, like, that's the other thing here too, that I'm like, you are a miracle. And what you're saying, when you treat yourself as scarce, when you treat yourself as the prize, that is seeing yourself as the miracle that you are. It begins with being your own soulmate that then opens you up to be able to make these connections with other people. And I think dating is hard for so many reasons, but when we don't love ourselves, I think that's the thing that makes it so much harder than anything else. Because truly, RuPaul said it, I'll repeat it here, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love somebody else? Like, if you can't accept all of your bugs that you think are bugs and see them as features, how can you look at the bugs that someone else has and love them because of it, not in spite of it? And I don't know about y'all out there, but I don't want someone to love me in spite of anything. I want them to love me because of the pieces of me that are broken and damaged and difficult and sensitive and too much and too loud and that I think are not enough. And they look at all of those and say, but that makes you you. So I love it and you. But in order to do that, you have to have that on display. You have to let someone see that. And that begins with you looking at it yourself and accepting it and holding it. Like we were talking about earlier, with sitting with that part of yourself and making that part feel seen and safe and accepted. Even if it's not your favorite part, that part deserves to feel safe in its home that is you.
And it's to your benefit because the
Yeah.
body keeps the score.
Yep.
So, that part's not going anywhere. You're not going to get rid of that part. It's still going to be there. It exists. Its energy exists, and until you spend the time with that part of you, the universe will continue to give you more of what you're focused on. And if
Yeah.
you're focused on your height and how short you are, everyone's going to bring it up to you.
Yeah.
Period. If you're and that's why the victim mentality is so dangerous. And it's why I really I feel like the victim mentality is something that I struggle to tolerate in other people. And that I work on that too, because I want everyone to feel safe and welcomed around me. And I don't want to ever judge. And it's not that I judge people, but when you have that victim mentality, whether height is a good example. For me, height's not a thing, right? But weight is. I mean, I'll self-disclose. Like, I still, even today, with all the work I've done, there's still body image problems. Like, and they're very deep-seated because I mean, they came from my mother. My mother had body image problems. Like, she gave them to me. I accepted them. I mean, I took them from her. No, maybe I didn't know any better, and I was a young kid, but she didn't give them to me intentionally. So
Right.
these things, but the fact is, so that's something there. But if I focus on that, the minute anyone says something to me about my weight, I'm gonna I'm gonna be protecting that. I'm gonna have to get defensive. I'm gonna make excuses for myself. Like, so that's everybody's got a bugaboo. Like, yeah, so it's
Yeah.
not height for me. Cool. For me, it's weight. How particularly being fat. Being fat troubles me. There's a part of me that fights against that. No, much less than it used to. I'm much more accepting of my body than I've ever been in my life, and I love my body. I love every part from the top of my head to the soles of my feet. Like, I do love who I am, and I want to be the best I can be for
Yeah.
those around me. Not because I'm trying to get you to like me or find me attractive or find me pleasing. I want all of those things. Who doesn't want to be found attractive? Who doesn't want to be found pleasing? Who doesn't want to be hot? Like these are we want that. And
Yeah.
those aren't bad things. But I'm not I don't I don't want to seek that. I don't need it. I don't need you to think anything about me is how I want to be. If you think I'm, you like skinny guys, cool. Like, great. That's awesome. I I like me. I'm who I am. Now, would I like to be more disciplined? Sure, I was for years. I can have an extremely tight diet and exercise. But again, why am I doing it? And I'm no longer doing it for you.
Right.
I do it for me. And that part of me that does feel tender or might get triggered. I was with a friend the other day, and one of my best friend, very very good friend of mine, and he said something like, "Yeah, I know." We were just talking about exercise and stuff like that, and eating, and I said something like, "Oh, my diet has just been terrible, terrible recently," and it has been. I've been eating, you know,
Well,
a
with
lot
all
of
your
things.
traveling, it makes it hard.
No, yeah, I have no it's just what I need right now, and I can
Yeah.
accept that and do so lovingly, and I have my boundaries because there's those parts know, hey, I care about my body, and I also
Mhm.
believe it doesn't really matter what I put into my body, that it's gonna work out because I walk in health, and that's true, but I wanna give my body every advantage I can, so I want to be disciplined in that way, but he said my friend was like, "Yeah, I noticed, you have gained a little bit of weight or something." Now, which is true. I probably have. I've put on a few pounds, mainly because I just haven't cared. It's
Yeah.
felt right, and not that I haven't, but I could have gone one in two directions. Like there was a part of me where that sort of stung a little bit.
Yeah. I'm like,
I mean,
that
no
that
matter
would
what,
feel like a
it
knife
still
to the
hit.
gut to me. Like,
Yeah,
that would feel
like you
painful.
put on and but then there was another part of me that's like, oh yeah, that is true. I have because I know I have a little bit, not
Yeah.
much. Given, I mean, in fact, surprisingly little given how bad I've been eating, but um, but still, like, and I know that, but I still felt something. So it was something but again, what did I do? I noticed it.
Mhm.
I noticed it, and I said, and I examined it. It's like, am I really hurt about this? I'm like, then I stopped and I said, "Well, no. Like, I know I'm not eating as well as I would like. Maybe I'm a little frustrated about that and wish I was eating better, but I also know I have the power to change that overnight if I want. Like, I could go tomorrow and on a light switch, turn on a dime. Like, I don't need to." So I was able to talk myself through that. And I was and I think what I ended up saying to him was something along the lines of, "Yeah, I know. Like it's just it hasn't been a priority for me, and I'm still exercising. I'm happy with things." And he's like, "Yeah, it's cool. I
Yeah.
like and he was like, I need to lose weight too." I'm like, "Yeah, you and me both, brother. Like, hey, but I don't need to do anything. That's the thing. I
Right.
don't need to
Well, and I
lose weight. I
think
don't need to gain weight.
what
I can
what
want to.
right. I think what you just said that really highlights is also if someone is throwing something at you, like what does that say about them? Like your friend saying like, "Yeah, you have gained a few pounds." Like if that I don't think that his intention was to hurt you, but
Oh no,
I think for him, it's like maybe this is just not a thing that he thinks about at all. So saying it is just like such a non deal, such a non issue that he wouldn't have even thought about how that could be hurtful. Or there could be someone who says something like that because they're aware that they've put on a few pounds and they're insecure about that. So they want to measure themselves against other people. And it's like, okay, I'm not the only one. Other people are doing this too. I'm not bad. I'm not wrong. Um, and again, we go back to how this comes from insecurity. And if you pause and listen and just are truly there and like witnessing yourself, it makes you a better steward of other people as well. It makes you a better steward of connection and feelings and um the human experience for you and for other people because it's life is hard. It's complicated and being able to hold the complexity of all of that, I think, is the only way we can hold each other through it because we're all complex. So we have to be able to handle complexity to be in relationship with other people.
agreed. And you know what? For me, I want people's shadow is what's interesting. Like
Yeah.
the fate. I mean, the persona we put on isn't interesting, really. Like, and that's how I don't understand really how people do. Obviously, have not been dating, not. I'm perfectly happy with where I am in my life, but I pay attention to things and watch things, and it just strikes me like how hard it must be to do online dating, and I don't know how you get past the superficial because everyone's so like I would love to just be like, so what's fucked up about you? Like, what is it that you don't tell anybody that's secretly true? Like, I want to know the dark stuff because that's the interest. Like, fuck, man, that's where it's interesting. Like, you know, I know. I mean, I don't. You may want to keep uh, hateful views. Like,
Yeah.
if you should have. Hopefully, you don't have those. But
Oh my
yeah,
gosh. Yeah. There was a TikTok that came across my For You page. I don't think it was particularly viral or anything, but it was a girl, and she was like, I'm a lesbian who has infiltrated Straight Hinge, which is the like most popular dating app right now. At least I think it is for people. Whatever, that's not important. But she is like, I'm a lesbian who has infiltrated Straight Hinge and asked all of these men that she matched with, what is your hottest take? Like, what is an opinion like that is your like thing, that is your spicy take. And she did a graph of like what it was about and like what men responded to that with. And it was really fascinating. I'll try and find it and link it down below so everyone can watch it. But it was like so many were just so non-committal. Like pineapple on pizza was a huge one. And she's like, okay, that's not
that's so lame.
interesting.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
that's
fucking
not a
boring.
right. And it's like, whoa, that's so fascinating that so many people had like food related ones. But also, she was like, crazy the amount of like hate that people just felt comfortable saying. And she like split up the hate into like racist takes, sexist takes, um, any certain category, right? Of like, you're just throwing this out there to someone via messaging on an app that like, what's your hottest take? You actually like don't think enslaving people is bad. Like, you're just gonna say that? Like, wild. But I think it's interesting to see the pieces of insecurity and protection that comes out, because to me it's like that is something you should keep quiet. Like, we do need to bring shame back for certain things. Like, you should be ashamed to say something as hateful as that. You should not feel safe saying something like that. But there are so many things that people don't feel safe saying that they should feel safe opening up about. And I think there's just like this misalignment of um I guess values baseline with, you don't know where someone else is. And it really is scary to go there with someone. And actually, now that I'm saying this, I think that was part of one of my biggest takeaways from living in Italy, was that there was a baseline safety with people being out and about, that like, I know that we have a fundamental similarity that makes me feel safe and comfortable with just being at a cafe talking to someone than in Italy than I did here. Even across culture, across language, across everything. Walking into a cafe, someone's like, well, where are you from? I'm like, oh, I'm from Texas. I'm from the States. And they're like, oh, ooh. I'm like, I know. Ooh.
Yeah,
And then we
right.
can just move on. And it's like, it's not a thing. We just have this understanding and in a shared system of seeing the world, even though we have differences. But that doesn't exist here. There's not a commonality across people because, I mean, I think for me, especially in Texas, like, I meet someone, there are like dog whistles that you kind of have to look for, that it's like, okay, did they vote? Who'd they vote for? Did they vote for Trump? Are they gonna say a gay joke, or are they going to like ask someone their pronouns? Are they going to use they, them if they don't know someone's pronoun? Like, there's just little things that I pay attention to try and get a marker of, like, how safe am I with this person? That we just don't have that. I don't know. That's a total tangent, but
No, I think I think you're right. I mean, part of it can be the diversity in America,
yeah.
really. I mean,
Yeah.
and there's all these studies, like, oh, like Norway or Sweden, the Scandinavian nations always rank super high on like
Mhm.
happiness scales. And they have very strong social services and strong support and this, that, and the other thing. Which, listen, don't get me wrong, I wish we had that here. And that would be if I could wave a magic wand, I wish we had that, because I think that we all are better off. A rising tide floats everything. And
Yeah.
if we're all healthy and happy, and can be creative and free, well, then corporations don't get cheap labor and don't get to force people to work harder and make more money for them, not for. So anyway, it's a systemic thing.
Yep.
But the diversity is really why, in a country like Sweden, pretty much everyone's very similar. And so it's very easy to say, yeah, I don't mind that my neighbor gets that, because I can see myself in them. And if I were in that situation, sort of the golden rule kind of thing. But here, there's such a diversity. It's like, I don't want that. Like, that person's need doesn't resonate with me, whatever
Mm.
their need is. And so all of a sudden now it's not seen as a zero. It's seen as a zero-sum game. Uh, you you know you
Yeah.
you either you get what you want or I get what I want, but we can't both.
Right.
If you get this, then it's at my expense, and that doesn't have
Right.
to be true. But yeah. So I mean, I think I agree with you. But diversity is a
It
good thing,
is.
but it also the brain doesn't like it because it's not
Yeah.
comfortable. And again, it goes back to this idea of discomfort. And can
Yeah.
you, if you can't see the, and again, where does it come from? Well, deep down, it's this fear of scarcity. It's this
Mhm.
fear of there's not enough for me. If I help if this person is helped, I can't be helped. And again, I just say, why do you have to, why do you choose to believe that that's true? Why do you
I think
choose to believe there's not enough?
fundamentally, there's not enough for me translates to I'm not enough. Like, I think there has to be something there, because there is something about, like, what are you worthy of? What do you believe you are worthy of? And that fear-based thinking um stems from that sense of internal and inherent worth. But I think that's a really good point too, and that diversity does add complexity and adds a level of, like, nuance that we need to hold, that is, I think, the best part of America is how diverse we are. But also, if people aren't wanting to see complexity, makes disdain more prolific.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, it's back to the four horsemen of that Gottman was talking about to some degree, in that, I mean, yes, that's in the context of an intimate relationship, but the same is true on a broader societal
Yeah.
level. Those four things, that the way we may treat our significant others that cause problems. Well, I think we do the same thing societally as well.
Mhm.
We have disdain for trans people because we're not like them, and so their wants, they're, or even worse, they're fundamentally flawed. Like, they're damaged, which is why they want what they want.
Right.
Uh, and so then it becomes easy to say, well, I'm doing that for their own good. I mean, that's what American slavery, that was one of the things that was touted. Well, we're saving the heathen kind of thing.
Right.
Well, you can justify an immense number of cruelties when you think you're doing it for some higher power that knows better than you do.
Yep.
Um, but no, so I am curious. So now I have to ask this, Reese. What is your hottest take? You brought it
Oh
up.
gosh.
Hopefully not racist, or
Right. That would be
think
crazy.
carefully.
Can you imagine if
Think
I
carefully.
whoa. Um I don't know how hot this take actually is, because of course I'm like, I have certain hot takes that are just like silly hot takes, but I'm like, I was just talking about how, like, milquetoast that is. Like, we don't want that. I think the one that's just coming to mind is, like, truly, 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 if everyone owned their inherent worthiness. Like, that, I think we have to start there. And I think that's the problem with so many systemic issues, is that we've been told we need to earn our worth. We need to earn things, both in a religious context, in a economic context, in a relational context. Everything that we do has been linked back to having to earn, having to be deserving, having to work towards being worthy of something. And I think that is the biggest fucking lie that we have all been sold and we have all internalized. And if we can just go back to honestly like a more animist perspective of like worldview and philosophy of like metaphysics, that is, everything is, we are already in community with one another, and I am worthy as I am right now, as is everything else. And our job is to sustain, not to grow and make more. Our job is to return and remember, not to, like grow. I think there's a difference between like being expansive and evolving and needing to make more and be more. And I think evolving and expanding is really beautiful because there are natural cycles of expansion and contraction, and we need both, right? And that's how evolution does happen and how your human progress and growth happens. And I think like just the fact that anyone needs to earn anything just so irks me. And I think it is like, and then maybe a little bit more grounded hot take is, which, how hot is this take actually? I think this is common sense, but I 100% believe that every single human being should be given at least a very, like, access to food, water, shelter, safety. Everyone should have that from the moment they're born till the moment they die, and you should not have to pay for it. You should not have to earn anything to have those basic things. Like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we know that we need certain things to just fucking survive. And to me, that's First Amendment. That's the right to life. The right to life, like, is it an inalienable right? Then why do we have to work and fight to have it? Why do I have to, in so many people, like I'm also so fucking privileged, like talking about this, but like so many people are breaking their backs to earn their right to life. I thought that was inalienable. And when the right to life is actually given to every human being as we deserve, I think that baseline safety will create this, it will help counteract this fear and lack mindset that we've been talking about, right? Because it is, I'm provided for, I'm safe, I'm taken care of. And what would the world look like if that baseline safety was already met? We would have so much more mental, physical, energetic, spiritual, emotional energy to put into actual innovation, making the world a better place, connecting with one another, being the best version of ourselves, self-actualization, as opposed to just trying not to die. Like, why do so many people break their backs literally just trying not to die? That's wrong.
Yeah, I love that. I agree that I'm not sure that it's a hot take.
Right. I'm like, as I'm saying it, I'm like, I
but
don't think that's.
it kind of is in the sense of like pretty much everything Jesus said is a hot take to all of these Christians who don't seem to want to agree with it. And kind of what you said is sort of Jesus-like. So I assume that that's a hot take for, 50%
right.
of or 40-something% of people out there.
One of the things to
be.
say to piss off men is, I'm just a socialist because Jesus was. And I love that.
That is well, that might piss off all Christians even. That might not just be exclusive to men, but,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have all these examples of people, getting yelled at in the, like they're just quoting scripture and all these Christians are coming out of the woodwork and the way I love to handle that though is just, looking at their profile, and especially if like it's a really Jesus-y profile, and it's like, it's interesting to me. I'm not sure we're on the same page here because your profile is all about Jesus and love, but yet you're saying these nasty things. So help me reconcile this and see.
Yeah.
Again, it comes back to that, how can you be love when you behave this way? Like, I mean, the Bible says you can tell a tree by its fruit. Your fruit seems pretty sour. It doesn't seem very Jesus-like based on what he said, which
Yeah.
I can argue whether or not he actually said any of those things, but you believe he did, supposedly, but yet you have your own reasons why you can, why it doesn't apply to you, apparently.
The math isn't mathing.
Right, the math isn't mathing. So
what is your hottest take, Dennis? We'll talk about that, and then there's one more of these things to say to piss off men that I want to get to too, and then we can close out. But I also want to know your hottest take.
Yeah, I mean, I think my hottest take, honestly, is that we don't really have free will. So I do genuinely believe that in many ways. Now, I mean, that doesn't mean I don't do anything. I just,
right.
I mean, in the sense of it's that I just accept whatever is, or I try to. It's the way I'm trying to live, because I don't think anything could have been done any differently given the situation. So I mean, I don't know that, again, that's truly a hot take.
Yeah.
In that it's not, it may be controversial, it may be interesting. I don't know. Along those lines, I think also is that, I do believe wholeheartedly that we create our own reality. So in that sense, we are God. So I do believe in non-duality. I believe in this idea that, God is not what we thought it is, what he, she, it, there's no gender to God anyway.
Right.
And we're all God. We're all in this together in some way that I don't fully understand. So there's still a mystery to it. And, yeah, and so I think that's a little bit of a hot take. That in that, what, like, it really, whatever's going to happen is going to happen the way it needed to happen. So and I think this can go for from a dating perspective. Like, I don't respond. I mean, you're either going to like me or you're not going to like me. Like, you see my profile. I'm talking. It's either going to work or it isn't going to work. So why am I going to try to trick you? Like,
yeah,
I don't, whatever the case is, we're friend, whatever it is, trying to get a job, trying to, either it's going to happen or it's not going to happen based on what's, and just, you're going to respond the way you need to respond. And so if there's no free will, then I'm going to, but what can I control? Well, I can control what I choose to think and what I choose to believe, and what, and I can remind myself when there's evidence that I'm not actually living that. I can say, wow, that, I felt scared. Okay, well, what is it that I believe? So by taking that, I can transmute myself in that way. Yeah, so I think that's another hot take is that, that the material world is just a fraction of what exists. And again, I don't know that that's a hot take. I think a lot of people hold that.
I think they're pretty hot takes in the general public, but I think in like philosophical communities, they're not as much, right? But I think in the general public, if you were just like at a dinner party and we're like, yeah, there's no free will, I think that'd be a pretty hot take in that
I like
context.
to do. I actually do that sometimes. I'll be like, yeah, I don't think we have free will.
Yeah,
prove me wrong. Change my view.
Yeah.
Because no one can give me an example of free will, like that I've found compelling anyway. In terms
yeah. I think maybe my like actual hottest take is that like in this kind of philosophical sense is like nothing is good, nothing is bad, everything is everything is a paradox. And like I feel very similarly, which of course my thoughts are so much more nuanced than just that, but I think there is, like, for me it's like free will must exist but it also can't exist, and that's kind of the same
thing.
The
paradox. It's the paradox,
right? With so many things.
Yeah, the paradox of the harder you try to do something, the farther away it becomes.
Right.
Like these backwards laws, essentially.
Yeah. Well, and I was just going to say, we have an episode where we talk about free will and how it relates to manifestation and everything you're talking about. So if people want more in-depth analysis on that, I'll link it
awesome
in one of the corners up here and down below, and go check it out. But our last question for before we round out, this is number 68. I'll just text my dad and ask him how to do it. Hanging up shelves, frying an egg, raking the leaves, whatever it is, assume he has no idea what he's doing. This one has a nice little sociological benefit. The more you do it, the more you can unwittingly pit him against patriarchal structures. No, babe, I can do this. The only reason you think your dad knows everything is because society has built structures that have forced you to show him undue reverence. And I just love that one because this actually is something that I have accidentally done, not intending to piss off a man, but there was when I was in a relationship, a flat tire situation, and I was like, ugh, I'll call my dad. And boyfriend was like, well, you don't need to call your dad. I know how to change a tire. And I'm like, okay, I know how to change a tire too, but like, do it then. Like, okay, change my tire. And of course, we needed to end up calling my dad, which is fine. Like, changing a tire isn't the test of being a man or not. It's not a test of intelligence. It's really about strength more than anything, because that's the hard thing, is I can never actually
Yeah,
get
so turning the lug nuts,
bolts off of the, the tire, unfortunately.
that or just getting the jack in the first place can be
Right.
the challenge because it's buried under like 5 layers and you
Yes.
got all the crap in the trunk. Yeah, I
Yeah.
have changed a tire.
Yeah, but it is interesting the like patriarchal undertones of this one, but also still how like it hints at the kind of, well, a woman starts property of her father and then becomes property of someone else, and like, who do you turn to for advice, wisdom, protection, strength, all of these things. And I do like the added benefit of like, hey, may teach him something about patriarchy, but at the same time, it is still like, with certain things, like, again, you don't necessarily need a man to change your tire or to hang a shelf for you, but I like this one because I think it's really relevant, and it happens probably accidentally all the time. Because I did it accidentally. This is one that I've done, not trying to piss someone off.
I could see that. Not necessarily. I mean, not necessarily. I'll ask my father, but sort of. I'll just ask. I mean, I think I've done this a lot in terms of like I wanted a quick answer. I asked somebody and they didn't know the answer right away, or so I'm like, oh, I'll just ask this. I'll ask so and so instead. I'll forget about it. I don't even worry about it, sort of thing. That kind of dismissiveness, I think of. I think this one's interesting, and again, for me, again, my view is well. I could change a tire, but that's why I have AAA, and I can have somebody come and do it for
Right.
me, and I don't have to stress about that. Like I don't have to worry about it at all. But what's interesting is there's certain I get the punch of it in the sense of there is a part of me that there is this societal view that men are supposed to do these things, to be able to change a tire and to know how to do home improvement stuff. And I do not do much of those things. I absolutely can change a tire. I that's probably about as far as my mechanical knowledge goes. I can change a tire, and that's it. That's probably where it stops. From a car perspective, because I am not a car guy. I'm not going to be working on the car. Like, just doesn't interest me. Like, there's people who
Yeah.
love working on cars. Cool. Like, I just want somebody to take care of it for me. That's what
Yeah.
trustworthy, who's good.
I want it to be safe and run.
Want it to be safe. You know how to do it better than I do. That's why we have specialization. Like, I don't feel the need to
Yeah.
do that. But I can understand where there is a subtle pitting, right? This comparison, especially when you say, I'll call my father to a man, right? There's this idea that somehow you're not as, or what the man may take from this.
Right.
It's not necessarily there. It certainly wasn't there in the example you said,
But the story he tells
the
himself.
story he tells himself possibly is, well, she thinks her father's more capable than I am. And so that's an affront to me, and that's such a, I mean, it makes sense. You can see logically why somebody might think that, but really it's such a silly belief to hold, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, if I don't know how to change a tire, so, I mean, there's 2 possibilities, right? I'm thinking if I'm the guy in this situation. So thinking, the flat tire, okay, we pull over. Now, you there's two possibilities. Either I know how to change the tire or I don't know how to change the tire. If I
Right.
know how to change the tire, then why am I going to be insecure about you calling your father? I know how to change the tire, but if you want to talk to your father, cool. Like, do I think, well, you don't trust me? You don't think I'm a man? I mean, those are possible thoughts. Or am I insulted somehow? Or, I mean, from my perspective, it would probably be like, well, what is your father going to do? Like, I know what I have to do to change a tire. I don't like doing it. I'd rather call triple, like for me, that would kind of be what went through my mind.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm trying to think where else could this, I, I, I can say for sure, even like, so a year ago, my daughter got her license, and literally like day 3 of being able to drive the car freely, somehow in the middle, in the less than a mile it takes to drive from her boyfriend's house at the time to our house, she managed to pop a tire on our car, which is an FJ Cruiser, which has huge tires. So I don't even know
Yeah.
how you can pop that. Like literally, we've had this car since she was born, 17
But
years.
that's always how it happens, right?
And like we have not. I mean, there's been problems with the car. We've never popped a tire. We've never. I don't think we'd had a flat tire because these tires are so huge you can crawl over. So I'm like, what the hell could she have hit? Anyway, so we call. We have AAA, and I could have changed the tire, but I didn't want to. Why do I pay for AAA? So, and we were in no rush. The car was in front of the house, and sure enough, a guy came out and changed the tire. But even then, like, there's a part of me while this guy's changing the tire that feels like, well, I should somehow be out there helping him. I could feel it.
Monitoring.
Right, monitoring, like somehow I'm a part of this. Like, don't you know I could have done this? And then
Yeah.
I noticed that about myself. Like, why am I hovering here? Like, why am I trying to justify myself? Like, because I could feel it. Like, I need to show I can do this. Like, it's not that I needed you. It's that I could have done it myself, but uh, so it's just an interesting thing. And I came to the
Yeah.
conclusion it was just, again, it's just an insecurity in me, somehow that I'm less than because I called somebody to change the tire, or you had to call your father to learn how to do that. Why is that something that triggers me? Why would that be something that bothers me? And what's that insecurity, right? Well, I'm not good enough. She doesn't,
Yeah.
or even more importantly, she somehow, and maybe it's not even about me because I'm secure in my ability to change or not change a tire. However, so maybe it has nothing to do with my tire changing ability, but rather it's how she, again, if we're talking in relationship here, how she
Right.
sees
Right.
me compared to her father. Is she weighing me against her father? Am I winning that, am I winning that battle? And there's a
Yeah.
fear there that maybe somehow I'm not. Uh, of course, my view of that is, well, if you want your father, I can't stop you. Like,
That was my thing too, was like there is something weirdly Freudian about it, right? But also this like I'm not choosing you because you are my dad. Like
right.
I'm choosing to be with you because of who you are. And
Or am
news
I?
right, right.
Or
Or
am I? I don't
yeah.
know. Maybe I
But
am.
it's like your ability to change a tire is not an indictment on your character, on your masculinity, on anything about you except about whether or not you know how to change a tire. It's like changing a tire is only a measure of how good you are at changing tires. The same way, like, school isn't a measure of how smart you are. Maybe there's a correlation between certain things that are easier for some people or other people, but school is only a measure of how good you are at school, at the system that school is. It is not a measure of intelligence or intellect or
Or
anything of the
worth
sort.
or anything, yeah.
Right. Same thing here. And I think it is just interesting. Like, it's such a beautiful example of how patriarchy keeps men in a box too, right? That like this is the insecurity that comes out because you are told, well, you need to be able to change the tire. You need to pump the gas. You need to hang the shelves, like be able to do these certain things. And similarly, like there have been a few times where someone will like I don't know, ask me a question about like, well, how do you do this laundry thing? Or like, what detergent should I use? And I'm like, how am I supposed to know more than you do? Like, if you weren't taught it, what makes you think that I was? And 9 times out of 10, because my parents were very good at educating me and my brother about all of these things on both sides of like traditionally gender role falling things. I do know how to do things, but because of that, my friends have actually taken to calling me the dad friend. Like, you've heard of the mom friend, but I'm the dad friend because if the Wi-Fi goes out, I'm the one they call. If there's a bug that needs to be taken outside, I'm the one who deals with the bug. If a painting needs to be hung, I'm measuring and leveling. Like, I'm the one who does that amongst the friend group.
Yep.
But so much of that is also not just like, part of it is where you choose to be in environment. Like, yes, I know how to cook and how to do laundry, and a lot of that is because, gender dynamics and gender roles, but also because I liked spending time with my mom. And if she was in the laundry room, I would go sit in the laundry room with her and I'm watching. And as she does something, I'd ask a question. Same thing with my dad. I like spending time with my dad. So when he was hanging something, I'm like, well, what does that green little bar do with the bubble inside? And he's like, oh, well, it's a level. And this is how you know, and so much of it is like, just paying attention and being curious. Like, knowing how to do things is just a measure of knowing how to do things. And then also having the wherewithal to teach yourself how to do it. Like, the other thing too is, yeah, I looked up how to change a tire, but did I know that I knew how to change a tire? Not until I had changed a tire for the first time. Did it take me way longer than it probably should have to change a tire? Yeah. But I eventually did it, and because you can look up YouTube videos and articles and WikiHow and all of the things now. Same thing with like setting up a security system in the old house that I was renting with my friends. Did I do that because I already knew how to set up a security system? No, I did it because it needed to get done. And you teach yourself how to do something.
I love
And so
that.
I think there's also a lesson in here of like, you are capable of taking care of yourself. And yes, there are too many mistakes in this world to make all of them yourself. And you should absolutely be able to rely on the people in your corner. Like, those are your best resources. But also, like, trial and error. It's okay to not know, and it's okay to fail forward and mess up through doing something.
Absolutely. And what I would say to but and I think the two things that I that resonated in particularly in what you said. Number one is that um eh, being able to do stuff now, or is more of a is easier than ever before. Like,
Yeah,
it
it's
used to
more
be.
effort than anything.
Like, now there's no way. You are right. There is no excuse to say I don't know how to change a tire, because I can go online and watch a YouTube video for pretty much every single make of every car ever made, and find out exactly how to do it in 5 minutes or less. Or I can ask ChatGTP, which will give me pretty much idiot-proof instructions for it, or whatever the case is. And so my argument would be, if somebody said, "Oh, can so if you are, you know, the sort of individual who's like, "Oh, I want my man to be able to be very traditional. I want him to do housework, to home improvement. Whatever the case is, that's okay. But if and that's perfect, and it's perfectly fine. Again, as we were talking about, tall, short, whatever that's what you want. That's important to you. You don't want to have to deal. You don't want to have to think about anything to do with the house or repairs or changing tires. That's not my bag. I mean, when my mother remarried to my stepfather, she basically said, "I don't cook and I don't clean. Deal with it. Like, you got to accept that." Like, every now and then I may choose to make something, and she did. Like, once a year, she would cook something. Usually French toast or something was her specialty. It was like the one dish she created. But again, she set it up front. And,
Right.
she never wasn't like, "Well, you don't cook like my mother," sort of thing. Like, because she said that up front. But and I guess the question I would have is which would you rather have? A man who was perfect at all of the house, was a tough guy, could fucking take together an engine and put it, take apart an engine and put it back together, could did all the domestic, sort of house, taking care of the house from a manly thing. I mean, wouldn't do dishes because that's not manly, but
Right.
whatever. Um, but is a complete, basket case emotionally, is closed off, avoidant, never talks to you, fights about things all the time. But man, he's really great at home improvement and can change tires. Or would you rather have a guy who maybe they can't figure out how to, or maybe they don't want to change the tire, they call AAA instead, but they're emotionally resilient and they don't freak
Give
out
me
which do you want?
give me the softest handed emotional man in existence. And I understand the desire for a like quote unquote manly man, but I think that that is so different in a modern age than it was back in the day. And also to me it's like, well, what does being a manly man mean? And it feminism doesn't mean not expecting or respecting chivalry. Like, yes, I do want a man that will open a door for me. That if we are in the car and it needs gas, we'll get out to pump the gas just because it's kind and it shows a deference and a care and a respect, right? But also, if I am walking in front of you to a door, I'm going to hold the door open for you too because it is also respect and kindness. And so it, it's just having that mutual respect. And I do think that there is something about, you know, um, honoring so much of what someone does for you. But I'm like, give me the softest handed person who has never known a day in the field or like whatever that's supposed to mean. Because also, it's like, if something really needs to be done, I can take care of it myself because I can take care of it myself. And I think one of the things growing up with a dad who was extremely handy and like if we never really needed someone to like most plumbing stuff he can do, most like electrical stuff he can do, changing doorknobs and like all of that stuff. My dad is extremely handy. And so growing up not having to outsource certain things was really nice because it's like, oh, well, if something happens, there's just someone here who can take care of it. Or when he gets home from work, he can take care of it. But I think what that taught me was not, so you need to look for that in a man, but was, if you don't want to outsource something, you need to learn how to take care of that. Like, that's all it is. Like, when the Wi-Fi goes down, it would be like, Dad, something's wrong. Then he takes care of it. And I'm like, wait, how did you do that? I want to know how to do that. So when you're not home, I can take care of it. And now I can take care of that for myself. Um, yeah. So I think, and then the whole protection thing, I think it's more complicated too, because of like, if a burglar breaks in, like, do you want the man who's going to go downstairs with the bat? Like, on one hand, yeah, because it's probably going to be a guy who, or a man who is bigger. And if you are physically stronger than me, yes, I would like the man to go check it out. Like, there are certain things that, based on the difference in body type and capability and just like natural strength, that shifts, right? But to me, it ultimately comes back to respect and mutuality. And we don't have to do all of the exact same things and be equals in terms of like we are exactly the same person, but we are equals in that the different tasks and chores that we do, that however we choose to divvy up a household, we have mutual respect for those tasks. Like, mowing the lawn shouldn't be respected any more than doing the dishes. Doing the laundry shouldn't be respected any more than changing the light bulbs or whatever that looks like, right? And we have AAA, but we also have a housekeeper that comes in once a month to like do the windows and the floors, right? Like, it's not necessarily about who does what, but a respect for the mutuality of taking care of the family that we're curating and building together.
Yeah, and I think it starts with communication too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, in an ideal world, you partition chores based on the on preference, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I love laundry. Like, I consider myself a minor laundry god. Like, I learned laundry at a very young age. My grandmother and I loved my grandmother. I loved spending time with her. She did laundry. I know how to get out just about every stain. I will talk your ear off about it because I I love laundry. I love the idea of getting something dirty and making it clean. And so it's not a chore. I mean, sure, it's still a chore. I mean, it's something to do, but I enjoy doing laundry. So in this house, I do laundry. No, that doesn't mean my daughter doesn't know how to do laundry. In fact, I made her do
Right.
her own laundry. But I also would have done her laundry for her if you know, but I also taught her how to do it. So I don't mind doing laundry. There's other tasks that I'll take a lot out of me, like paying the lawn guy. Now, it shouldn't take a lot out of me to write a check because the lawn guy does not take credit cards or anything I can put on recurring payment. I have to physically write out a check. I do not do that. Now, could I? Absolutely. I know how to write a check. And if I needed to, I would. However, that is something that is partitioned to my spouse. She takes care of that. She knows the lawn guy. She took over that responsibility. It's not a big deal to her. It doesn't stress her out to do that. I mean, does she like it? No. I mean, who does? No one wants to sit there writing checks. It's not a fun activity. But that ideally, that's a division of labor shouldn't be uh well, you're the woman, so you do the laundry, right? I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about here because I actually I don't want anyone touching my clothes but me. I like washing my own clothes. I literally do not. I appreciate that you want to do I have friend, hey, I'll do my lawn. I've told my wife, no, I don't want you touching my clothes. Like, if you need to do laundry, I'm happy to do it. But if you really need to do yours, don't touch mine.
Yeah.
Again, that's a me thing. Like, is there
Mhm.
anything wrong? No, but and the reason is I'm a nut about it. Like, it matters to me more than it should. I don't need to change that about myself. I mean, it's not going to ruin my life if somebody washes my clothes. I'll live.
Right.
But so why would I not? So I should be doing laundry because I enjoy that. It's part of who I am. It's for better or for worse. uh, and so there are no women's chores and there are no men's chores.
Right.
That's the thing. Like, do what what works for you, like and partition out so no one feels resentment and no one feels like that's what it's about, right? I feel like I'm doing too much. I feel like I'm being taken advantage of. Why am I the guy that when the Wi-Fi goes down, I'm supposed to fix it? Like, I'm not a Wi-Fi expert. Like, I don't know anything about this. And that's where resentment builds up. Like, oh, I got to tell you to take out the trash. Well, I mean, okay, I don't mind taking it out. Sometimes I forget. It's not the first thing on my mind. Like,
Yeah.
is it if it bothers you so much that I don't remember to take out the trash that you have to say, "Hey, remember tonight's trash night?" I can get that. It may seems like it. So what can I do then? Because this bothers you that you have to remind me. It makes you feel like well, I don't want you to feel that way. Like I don't mind taking out the trash. So how can I remind myself? Well, maybe I set an alarm. Maybe I write it on a whiteboard. There's ways, and that's how you become. That's how you match your partner's energy, I guess, in some
Right.
senses. Like, hey, this matters to you, and I want you to understand that if I do forget, it's not because I'm a jerk or it's not because I don't wanna do this, it's because, shit, I have ADHD and sometimes I forget. And, like, literally, the trash doesn't bother me one way or the other. It being full does not disturb me. So, I half the time I don't even see it. So, I write notes to myself to try to remember it so that, "Oh, yeah, today's trash day. I need to take out the trash." Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. That was a long rant to say,
No, I
"Just
I
talk to
think
each other, damn it." Like,
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
so,
Just communicate.
just
And I think
communicate.
too, like, just going in with no expectations and communicating about it. And I think it also goes back to like why it's important to live by yourself too. Like, you should know how to do all these things for yourself. And there's so many people that I know that like went from living with their parents to living with roommates to living with their partner. And it's like you always have some sort of division of labor, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but there is something that has given me so much pride about like I can live by myself and I can manage everything that I need in my life. That is, I don't need anyone else. I don't need to be in a relationship. I don't need someone to take care of me. Is it nice when my mom does my laundry because it smells like her and it smells like home? And, it's like, yeah, that's really awesome. But I know how to, and it goes back to everything you were saying. And so just talking to each other and absolutely, I think, especially several generations ago, your mom saying like, hey, I'm not going to cook, I'm not going to clean, especially when that was the expectation for women, it was really smart. But also now in today's day and age, I'm like, girls, you shouldn't have to say, hey, I'm not going to cook, I'm not going to clean. Like, guys, all of these chores should be something that you are communicating together. Like anyone that you are in a household with, romantic relationship or not, there should be some sort of discussion beforehand about division of labor and what that looks like. Um,
Yeah, and I
yeah,
think back just like the we talked about height or whatever, if there's certain things you don't like to do, that's cool. Like, find
Yeah,
somebody who
that's
likes to
okay.
do them. Like,
Well, like,
yeah,
even when I was living with roommates, I do not mind doing dishes. Like, actually, like, hand washing dishes and drying them does not bother me. Unloading the dishwasher, I don't know why, but I
I
hate
get that.
unloading
I
the
get that. I
dishwasher.
get that. I hate it too. I get it. I
And
get it.
so,
It's
me and my
irrational. It makes no
roommates,
sense.
it
Why?
is.
Like,
I don't
because you
get
could
it.
just as easily be like, cool, everything's clean. I get to put it back where it belongs. That's awesome.
Right.
But I hate it.
And
I'm with
so
you.
that's me and my roommates. It's like, okay, I'll do the dishes after dinner. You put them away once they're done in the morning. Easy peasy, and
Yep.
like both were, thank you so much. Of course, you're welcome. Thank you so much. Of course, you're welcome.
It
Like,
just works. Yeah.
yeah, and it's easy. So, well, I really enjoyed today's episode. Of course, we will link the book down below as well as Kyle Prue's work and accounts. Please go support him and check out this book. I think it's a really fun like coffee table book to have too, because it's a quick like flip through, get some fun advice. It's a great conversation starter, and even some of the sillier ones to try with like some of your guy friends or your dad maybe is fun, because I've certainly had some fun doing that and just seeing
Seeing what
how people
happens. Seeing what
respond.
see how what happens, how people respond to it, and play with it. Be
Yeah,
and explore. I mean, that's what this is. These are just words. They really can't hurt you. Like, I
exactly.
mean, that is just the sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I mean, really,
Yeah.
they are just words. And yeah. So this was, I mean, and we may do this again because we only went
Yeah.
through 4 questions and we managed to go forever.
Yeah.
So, I think there's probably a lot more questions in here, but it all sparks such great discussion. But I'll just leave it with,
Yeah.
everyone out there, look for emotional resilience. Like, that is
Mm.
probably the number, everyone's got all these other traits, height, this, that, and the other thing. Dude, emotional resilience is to me the sexiest thing you can possibly bring to a relationship, is emotional resilience and safety. Like, that to me, you want to be unstoppable. You want to have, that is, emotional resilience to me is the sexiest thing that is out there. Because that's a whole human being. And that works no matter what. So,
Yeah.
let's make emotional resilience sexy again. I can get, instead of height or all these other
Yeah.
characteristics, let's these trivial things. Let's go
Yeah.
for deeper. But
I love
as
that.
always, Reese, lovely talking to you, lovely sharing this, and to our listeners, if you want more, let us know.
Yeah.
If this was interesting, that's how we know what to do more of. So thank you all for watching,
100%.
and it's been a joy.
Yes, definitely go support Kyle Prue's work. Thank you for being here, and we will see you all next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bow Down is a weekly podcast from the Cohere Collective that explores esoteric and empowered feminism.
Please subscribe to Bow Down wherever you may be listening. And if you enjoyed the episode, please leave us a like, a 5-star rating, and a review. And if there's anyone you think would enjoy this episode, or maybe just needs to hear it, please share it.
If you want to stay up to date on all things Bow Down, you can follow the Cohere Collective on any social media platform at the Cohere Collective, and check out other content and offerings at www.thecoherecollective.com.
If you're interested in working with Reese to find and pursue your purpose, I encourage you to head to www.thecoherecollective.com/life-coaching.
If you're interested in working with Dennis to shed your mask and embrace your desires, you can email Dennis at dennis@theheartstoybox.com.
A huge thank you to Jack Corbett for Bow Down's music. You can find him on Instagram at j.corbe. Thank you all for joining us today. We're so glad you're here.
And as always, we hope you feel like you are living more coherently. And until next time, love.